Okay. Hey guys, let me see. Booting out our AI note takers. No AI, damn it. And I'm already recording, but I'll spotlight myself and do an intro here in just a minute. So, there we go. Sit cross-legged today. Oops. Okay. Yeah, you guys should work on getting rid of those autopilots. Okay. So, what do we got going on here? There's our chat. Okay. Rock and roll. Okay, so I'm going to spotlight myself. Yeah, no, I get rid of all the AI. It's just it clogs things up. That's the problem. So okay, and spotlight for everyone. Okay, awesome. Okay, so in three, two, one. Welcome to APEC Open Mic. It is September 14th, 2024. So I am sorry. Hold on. I'm going to stop and restart that. Oh my God. Okay. Sorry. So welcome everybody to APEC Open Mic. It's October 12th. I'm your moderator, Tim Ventura. I want to give a big thank you to everybody for joining us on today's call, along with everybody who's watching us in replay later on YouTube. So today's session is for open discussion and ad hoc presentations. We don't have anything scheduled in advance, but we do have a couple of folks who have asked if they could present. And so we are just going to get to them as soon as we go through and do introductions. So I'm really excited about that. Just a reminder to everybody, you can view conference replays, details, and speaker info on our website at altpropulsion.com. We are in the mid 60s in terms of conferences and open mic sessions now. So we have so much online. Anything related to emerging propulsion technologies is there. So definitely take a look. Altpropulsion.com. We have all of the conferences listed. We also have links to our YouTube channel there. So we're on Zoom. You can raise your hand using Option Y on Mac or Alt Y on Windows, and you can type those questions into chat. We're not going to be firm on hand raising during open mic unless things get chaotic. But please try and be respectful of people who are speaking and not step on other folks' toes, right? So. And we're also trying to keep things focused on the core topics of the alt propulsion community. Okay, so I think that's it. So I'm going to unspotlight myself, and you guys are in the room. So let's go through and start doing introductions. Okay, so remove spotlight. Look at that. Okay. You know what? Let me start with Bernie Conkin.
Hello. I'm at work
Hey,
today.
Bernie, look
Good,
at that. Look
good
at the
to see you.
construction outfit.
Right, actually working. So I was just coming in to say hi and listening in, but sadly won't be able to present today. Probably next open mic, I will show some of my electrolysis experiments, my different monoatomics and nanomaterials that I work on.
Awesome. Bernie, thank you, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So let me see. Let me go. I'm just trying to go in the order they are on my list here. Let me go to Darren next. Darren, can you turn your camera on? Looks like yep. There we go.
Mute. There I am. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, doing well.
I'm both Darren's, by the way. I got my computer on too. Okay.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so Darren, tell us just, like 30-second pitch. Who are you and what's your stuff about?
I'm just an old guy who's interested in crazy stuff, so I enjoy
Okay.
listening.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the call. This has been an amazing year. So yeah, definitely keep coming back because we've got so much going on. Let me go to Rick next. Mr. Rick Muller, I believe. Rick, welcome back, sir.
Hello, Tim. My name's Rick. I'm a materials engineer. I'm from New Jersey. I like to learn about the many anti-gravity experiments on APEC. I've met many people here. I chat with them from around the world on what they're doing. I'm basically waiting for Mark's Suckel's Alzaphon experiment. Currently, I'm talking to a lot of people on Nathan Booten's Gravity Flyer site, helping them with their devices.
Oh,
Uh,
awesome.
and that's pretty much it right now, Tim.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, sir. Let me go to Robert Francis Jr. next.
Hi, my name is Robert Francis Jr., and I'm working on magnet drop experiments, determining if it's a gravitational or inertial modification, and if it is inertial modification, if the acceleration rate continues and does not plateau.
Awesome. Okay, and let me go to Henry next. Oh, Henry, you're muted, sir.
Tim, am I muted?
No, but here, Bernie, I'll mute
Yeah.
you. Yeah, and then let me go to.
There.
Sorry about that.
Hi.
Sorry, Henry.
Okay, sorry. I thought it had frozen for a moment. Henry, tinkering with electronics, MOSFETs, opto isolators, etc., with interesting circuit design that I came across and want to verify the claim.
Awesome. Well, thank you, sir. Let me go to Joe next. Oh, Joe, you're still muted, sir. There we go.
Hey guys, I got serious. My New Year's resolution was to chase down free energy. And so I'm surfing all the societies and groups. I went to a few conferences. I've met a lot of you guys. I'm also trying to piece together a narrative that we all can agree on through history. I'll post my email address in the comments. And if anybody has some thoughts, I'd appreciate it. But really interesting ideas posted here, and I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. Let me see. Let me go to Mikolaj next, sir.
Hello, my name is Mikołaj. I'm working on vacuum propeller, sorry, a propeller. And Tim, I hope you got my material for the presentation. And the results, testing results are very encouraging.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I did. I'm playing catch up right now. I was traveling for the last week, so I went over to see Jesse Michaels and then I ended up seeing Deep Prasad, right? And Deep is involved with the UAP stuff. So I was in Austin all week and I came back with pretty bad hay fever, but I guess that happens there. So
No
uh,
rush, yeah.
yeah.
As long you got it, it's all good.
Let me go to Leonardo next. Sir?
Okay, hello. I'm Leonardo Rivera. an independent researcher, and I have a presentation in English of 12 minutes of my research.
Okay. Can we come back to that after we do introductions?
Yes.
That'd be
Yes, please.
awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
I like the graphic too. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me go to Jay next. Jay? Oh, sorry, Jay, you're still muted.
Oh, sorry. I'm from Pennsylvania. I have a background in computer science, and I'm interested in UAP and psionics, the real type, and energy fields.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Let me go to Richard next. Richard, welcome back, sir.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Yeah,
what's up in your world this week?
Yeah, I work on over unity and free energy systems. And I'm looking at the cosmology to see if there's something, out there that I might have missed or something.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. Let me go to William Schramm next. William, welcome back. Sorry, that was me. I was trying to.
Hi there, guys. Yeah, William Schramm. I'm a mechanical engineer and a commercial pilot. I've been following along with the Graviflyer, kind of trying to find something that I could do as a mechanical project that might contribute. Haven't found anything quite yet. I'm interested in electrostatic devices, something that we could get off like a table just to float would be spectacular. I'm also interested in pulse propulsion. So something more like a sustained Lorentz force pulse that might cause something to hover. So I'm sizing this up, haven't built anything yet. Just looking for people that might want to work on something like that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you. Let me go to Brendan. Brendan, welcome back, sir.
Howdy, y'all. I'm Brendan. Got a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah, I hear him in the background.
Most of the time I'm farming, taking care of kids, studying gravity, and hanging out with y'all.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Let me go to JH next. Sir?
Hello there. My name's John. Last month, I think we got recommended this from the Tambalone Integrity Research Institute. I got my copy a couple weeks ago, plus some other cool stuff. Another one that came from Tom was this, T.T. Brown's electrogravitic research. And then, of course, I always come back to this is, I think, the modern Bible of why we're all here. So those are my interests, and thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Okay, let me go to Dr. David Chester next.
Hey everyone, I'm David Chester. Yeah, I'm a theoretical physicist, but I've also been diving into experiments lately. So I have been playing with the Graviflyer a little bit. I've just got it and I'm setting that up. I'm trying to reproduce the John Brandenburg experiment as well as working on another experiment as well. And then, yeah, I'm kind of looking into the longitudinal modes for electromagnetism and looking into theories of gravity as well. So thanks for having me.
Thanks, David. Okay, let me go to Alfredo Gonzalez next. Welcome, sir.
On mute. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Alfredo Gonzalez. I just have a BA in accounting with a minor in computer programming. I'm interested in the subject of magnetic and anti-gravity propulsion systems because I already have seen that. In 1978, I had a close encounter of the first kind and the fourth kind. And it's been a long road to try to find people who could empathize with that that subject, because every time I share that with people, they're like, they react like a lot of people do, thinking that it's all made up or that I'm crazy. But I really had those experiences, and I would like to share that because I know that what you guys are trying to accomplish, it already exists. It has existed for thousands of years, and you're in the right track. I just wanted to share that.
Awesome. Alfredo, thank you. Thank you. Let me go to Michael Boyd next. Michael, welcome, sir.
Hello. So I'm a physicist, engineer, and archaeologist. Been following you guys for a while. I guess the hot topic recently is ether. So I'm looking for hearing some evidence for it.
Okay, well, there we go. Okay, let me go to Doug McDonald next. Doug, welcome. Oh, you're still muted, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. Welcome back.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my name's Doug McDonald. I have a qualification in business 2 and 3, and I like to do science stuff, and it's self-learning through physics, but I do designing as well. I got some prior learning in school with designing technology. I do design such things as anti-gravity, teleporter, and a space-time calculator, which is also known as a time machine for space travel as well. So yeah, just wondering if I can share my ideas with you. I got some designs. I've been sharing it with Michael Lee Boyd. I also send you an email, Tim. So I don't know if you received it.
I may have. Again, I'm playing catch up on everything and sneezing my way through it at the same time. So
yeah, anytime you're ready to look at it, just have a look and see what you think. But if you don't think, just let me know as well.
Okay, yeah, and if you don't hear back, ping me again because I've got my inbox goes back like 4 or 5 days at this point. So
cool. So I like to join the group. Cool.
Awesome. Okay, well, Gary, welcome.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, I've been a follower of Tim for a long time, but I'm also a member of the SCU, which is Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies. And we've been looking into the locations of some of the areas that receive artifacts. So I would love to spend 5 or 10 minutes of your time, Tim, tonight to cover what we found out about where alien artifacts are sent and where they reside. And I think that's kind of a fun topic, even though it's not completely all about propulsion. It's still sort of ancillary to propulsion.
Yeah, well, in fact, Gary, maybe we could start with that if that's okay.
Okay, that'd be great.
Let me go through the introductions though, and they're moving around as I go.
We'll come back. We'll come back to that. Yeah.
Let me go.
I have a lot of material from them, so I would love to share.
Okay. Let me go to Steve Burns next. Steve, welcome, sir.
Hey, I was muted. Sorry. How you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Yeah, so I'm a nuclear engineer that just fools around with anti-gravity. Hope to say a few words tonight about a new project I'm working on. I'm very optimistic about it, and I think that it's something that's never been done before. So.
Oh yeah. Well, and Steve, you were working on. I think you and I corresponded a long time ago about Fran Aquino's work, right? So.
Yeah, this is derivative of that, and it's taken me 20 years to get to the point where I can understand it well enough to actually say something about it.
Okay, well, yeah, I would love to have you describe that more for us. Let me go to Jim Woodward next. Jim, welcome, sir.
Hi, Tim. How are you doing?
Doing well.
Good. Introductions. Jim Woodward, the Mega Impulse Engine project, which has had some ups and downs the last week or two. And the up seems to have it. I got some runs today in the lab that Curtis is going to be very pleased with, I think.
Awesome.
So anyway.
Okay, well, thank you. Let me see. Let me go to Tom next. Tom?
Hello, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
I'm not really into propulsion systems. I'm more into making new types of magnetic energy devices for energy production. But I've also done propulsion devices in the past, but that's not really my thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and there is some crossover. There's community crossover, right? Which makes total sense. So
right.
Okay.
Well, you need a power supply before you can run your anti-gravity devices anyway.
No, I figured that out. We're going to use a Honda 4-stroke generator on our UFO when we get it
really?
built. Yeah,
You don't want to use.
Well, yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying. The energy part is, yeah, if you're going to build these propulsion devices, then you got to power them somehow.
Right.
Let me go to Mike next. Mike, welcome, sir.
Hey, Tim. This is my second open mic. I'm Mike from Texas. I'm a retired electrical engineer specializing in microelectronics, microprocessors. I'm interested in gyroscopic, magnetic levitation and/or propulsion, and astrophysics and Einstein relativity. And appreciate listening to everyone.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, Mike. Let me see. Let me go to Gary Hawkins next. Gary, welcome. And Gary, could I ask you to turn your camera on?
Yeah, sorry. It doesn't work on this laptop, but if you wish, I could switch over to my phone.
Well, we'll skip just in the interest of time. But yeah, if you could introduce yourself. And Gary and I talked. We talked just a couple of weeks ago, right? So we were talking about Merlin's work.
We met back when Tim was working on the lifter in the 90s, and I was doing some ion wind experiments, lots of high voltage equipment came my way, and then I got derailed for like 12 years in the workaday world, including Microsoft, and I worked on some of my own projects, including algorithmic trading. But I'm back at it now finally, and so I have a lot of things that I'd like to reproduce the Salvador Pais patent on negating gravity, take a stab at it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Gary, thank you. Welcome. Yeah. And yeah, this is, I mean, the alt propulsion, this is a community. So I would encourage you to, like, for everyone, in chat, exchange ideas and contact info and all of that with each other, because you are the folks who are doing the work, right? So, I mean, that is the best way to find like-minded people who can help you with your ideas. Let me go to Faustino next. Faustino? And could I get you to turn your... Oh, there we go.
Hello, how are you? Hey,
welcome.
What's up, guys? I've been following APEC and all you guys some time. I'm from Mexico. I'm doing my master's degree in medicine. I'm a nutritionist, but I'm doing my master in medicine. And I'm researching on nanomaterials like gold nanoparticles, graphene oxide, and zeolite materials, just for medicine purposes. But I liked the information you put out. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Okay, and it's shifting things around, but I think, let me see, I think Lulu is next. Lulu, welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nawal Sajari. Everyone calls me Lulu. I'm from the Woodlands, Conroe, Texas. I'm a licensed insurance agent and a medical business consultant. I'm about to start and finishing my science information technology bachelor's degree, specialized in information assurance and security. I'm interested in the latest science, especially the space and tech part. And
awesome.
I've been with APEC for almost 5 years.
Yeah, yeah. Welcome back.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay, let me go to Jim next. Jim, welcome, sir.
Yeah, hi. You talking to me?
Yeah, Jim Marson.
I don't know if there are other
back.
Jims out there, so whatever. Yeah, actually, I'm very interested in the Biefeld-Brown effect. I'm also have some alternative physics ideas about Michael Morley and an experiment that might disprove the special relativity.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. And let me see. I think we have Norman next and then Dawn after that. So Norman, welcome, sir. And could I ask you to turn your camera on? Okay, and it looks like Norman might not be, he might be having issues with his system. Let me go to Dawn next. Dawn, welcome, sir. And could I ask you to turn your camera on?
Sorry, I'm coming right in. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Dawn, welcome. Could I ask you
Hi.
to turn your camera on, sir?
Of course. Let me get there. I have so many windows open. I'm coming. There we go. Hi.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome
Oh
back.
my
Haven't seen you in a
goodness.
while.
Thank you so much, Tim. It's wonderful to be back. Hello, everybody. What a great crew that you put together here, Tim. My name's Don Tadaya. I am a data scientist and engineer for Northrop Grumman, former NSA, also an SCU member. Happy to be here. And I hope I'm sending a few of you guys some private messages. Hopefully the things that I send you are relevant, but if not, just ignore them. Hey, Tim, I want to chat with you later about Global Consciousness Project. But anyway, yeah, happy to see
Oh yeah,
everybody here.
absolutely. Well,
Cool,
and
thanks.
yeah, and welcome back. And so, yeah, I think that's pretty much everybody. So why don't I do this? Let me see if it's okay. I want to start with Gary. Actually, so during our announcements, we had 3 or 4 people who wanted to present stuff. I'd love to have all of you guys talk about your stuff, but if it's okay, let me go to Gary first, and I'll spotlight him, and then he can kind of give us an update.
Sure, that'd be great, Tim. Yeah, can I present?
Yeah, go for it.
So I've been with SCU for a while now, and SCU stands for Scientific Coalition of UAP Studies. And we get a lot of data from all different concerns. And one of them was this Psalm 101 Special Ops Manual that we had to look at about extraterrestrial entities and technology recovery and disposal. So this does have a bearing sort of on your topic because some of the crafts that were captured were, kind of advanced propulsion. So that's kind of how it overlaps with what you're doing. And so I have to give you 2 warnings about the documents that we got. We have 2 problems with this document. One is that it's incomplete. So a lot of pages are missing. The other is a lot of the headings, like this, you see 17 extraterrestrial technology. A lot of the headings were replaced with other headings. So you can't, if you see something that's Helvetica, it's probably not authentic because this is a 1954 document and Helvetica wasn't even invented until 1957 and not in widespread use until the 1960s. So you can't really believe the headings that are in Helvetica. So that's probably something that was covering something else up. But I was intrigued by the rest of the table, which was talking about how to disposition alien remains and artifacts in real time and where to send it. So mechanical craft and so on, aircraft and so on, were sent to Area 51. That's fine. But what's interesting here is non-mechanical, non-electrical materials, such as clothing, personal belongings, and organic ingestibles, were sent to Blue Lab WP61. So where is that? And until recently, we didn't know where that was, but because of AI, we know where it is now. Same with living non-human organisms in apparent good health or reasonable health. OPNEC BBS-01, no one had any idea where that was until Meta AI. By the way, Meta AI is run by Facebook. And so they have access to every single Facebook page ever created. And so if you ask Meta AI something, where is something, Meta AI will tell you the right answer.
So I asked Meta AI, where is this place? Where's Blue Lab? Where's OPNEC? Where's Building 21? The media, if you had media associated with alien life forms, then you had to send the printed matter, electronic recordings, maps, charts, photographics to Building 21, KB88. I asked Meta 88, I asked Meta AI, where is that too? And it was able to respond. So because of AI, we've solved all these mysteries. That's going to be my point. And the last line is very interesting. Living entities must be contained in total isolation pending the arrival of OPNEC personnel. Where is OPNEC personnel and who are they? That's an interesting question. So basically the disposition rules, hardware goes to Area 51, dead aliens and their stuff go to Blue Lab, living aliens go to OPNEC, media goes to Building 21. So where are these places? And so that's what AI has been able to help us with in the last few weeks in terms of researching this. Area 51, obviously, that's at a place in Nevada, and this film has been doctored. So these areas over here are actually carved into the mountain. And so these are underground storage facilities that these have been doctored. So you don't really see that it's a tunnel, but that's where basically where Area 51 is. As far as Building 21, Unit KB88, Kirkland Air Force Base is mentioned in the same document. And you can look up this document anywhere. This document, by the way, is on the internet, SOM 1-01. Just Google that. It's on the internet, it's freely available. So I ask you to draw your own conclusions. There's two problems. One is there's not every page available. Number two is many of the headings are pasted over with Helvetica, which, as I've already pointed out, was obviously invented after the document. So Helvetica can't possibly be real. So, but it does say Unit KB88, Building 21, Kirtland. That's where the media was. And so whoever photographed this obviously photographed it at Kirkland. So you do have to ask, is KB88 Building 21 associated with Kirkland Air Force Base? Meta AI said, yes, Building 21 is at Kirkland Air Force Base. And it is a hub of nuclear weapons center and threat reduction agency and special operations and classified activities. And what you need to know about Kirkland Air Force Base is there's only three things that are important about Kirkland Air Force Base. Sandia National Labs, Tech Area 1, Sandia National Labs, Tech Area 2, and Sandia National Labs, Tech Area number 3. In other words, Sandia National Labs is basically what's happening in Kirkland Air Force Base. So that's Department of Energy, and they're trying to discover how energy works. So they have somehow gotten hold of alien technology and they decided on their own that this is how we're going to take control of these technologies. We're going to say, oh, it's all about energy. So DOE took control of this tech. Second point, Blue Lab WP61. Where is that? So if you go back and you look at this spreadsheet and you say, oh, non-living organisms in good health. So, or their clothing, Blue Lab WP61. Where is that? So I just asked Meta AI, and God bless Facebook. Don't post anything to Facebook, because if you do post something to Facebook, guess what happens? Meta AI knows the answer. So Meta AI has the answer to where is Blue Lab WP61? Blue Lab WP61 is at Battelle National Biodefense Institute at Fort Detrick, which kind of makes sense if you have a dead alien body, you send it to BNBI because it's a biohazard. So biohazards are, of course, going to be sent to SAMRID and into Fort Detrick. If you look at Fort Detrick, it has down here, National Institutes of Health labs. It has the parking lot to SAMRID over here. And oh, by the way, it has Blue Lab, Battelle National Biodefense Industry Lab over here. So I'm just saying, this is where the dead bodies are going, okay? And when you look at it closer, Blue Lab WP61 is absolutely at Battelle National Biodefense Institute. But check this out. So this is a really pretty building. By the way, they have a gorgeous building. They obviously have a lot of fantastic federal funding. God bless them for living large on our dime. These are contractors that are living on our dime. Okay, so just saying. And this building behind them kind of caught my interest. It was like, why is it separate from that building? Why are the money changers and the bean counters not want to be part of the real thing? And what's going on over here? So I zoomed in on that, and that's actually, they have their own like drone over here, protection drone, and massive HVAC, by the way, in this building. So you look at the massive HVAC, and then these two very unfriendly looking things pointing at the driveway. And it's like, that looks like that could possibly be the building where they hide the remains of the dead aliens. So let's move on from that. So where do they send the living aliens? Well, if you look back at this spreadsheet, living non-human organisms in apparent good or reasonable health. Yeah, that's MJ612 code EBE-XO. And the receiving facility is the Blue Lab WP61. So where would we hide alien bodies?
Well, Gary, so it looked like it was OPNAC, right?
Yeah.
For the living ones.
So yeah, we'll get to the living ones. The dead ones get sent here. Okay. So let's move on to the living ones. OPNAC BBS01 is where the living ones go. Thank you for that, Tim. I didn't have any freaking clue where OPNAC BBS01 was, but thank God to Meta AI, which, by the way, can scrape every single Facebook on the fucking freaking planet Earth. Meta AI knows where everything is because they have access to Facebook. So, unfortunately, medical company 224 posted to Facebook, so Meta AI knows where this crap is. So OPNAC BBS01, and I just asked, is it a government facility? I had no idea. It was literally 15 miles from where I live. OPNAC BBS01 is a government facility. It is specifically a backup bunker. It is located in Olney, Maryland, which is 15 miles from where I live. And I went there today just to have a look. Emergency Ops Center. So the O is Olney, the P is President, the N is Network, the A is Action Center. So it's like, that's what they're doing there. And here it is. This is a satellite view based on, based on Google. But what sold them out was their landing center, Federal Support Center Heliport of Olney FSC. And it's interesting, there's not many cars in the parking lot. Apparently there's no aliens in there right now. But they park around this antenna, Like that's how to get downstairs. But this is all capped over an underground bunker. So the whole BBS is background bunker storage or background bunker system. And you see antennas and you see all this. It's more interesting to look at the 3D view and only often shows up on short lists of super secret bunker systems. And so I scraped this from a posting on super secret bunker systems. And they used to have 2 landing systems. Now they have 1, but here's the interesting thing. You can actually drive under stairs. You can drive under it. You can drive into it from down under. So there is a way to get down under the only federal support center. So that's the way to like get those little gray bodies in there. So quite interesting. So here's, and I was about to let it go. I was about to let it go. That we're all done. And then I zoomed out and I realized only FSC. Wait, what the F is this? What the F is this? This is the 224th Military Reservation down the road, about 2 minutes away, 0.4 miles. And what are they doing there, right? So, oh, this is their Facebook page. Oops, they posted on Facebook. And look at their little ambulances. These are HEPA filtered ambulances that are self-contained and self-sealed. Those vehicles are utterly self-contained, number 1. Number 2, if you look at their window shields, they're bulletproof. That's the 224th Support Medical Company. It's like, wait, do they have anything to do with the only federal support center? Who knows? So let's ask Meta AI. Is the 224th associated with OFNEC BBS 01? And here's what AI says. By the way, there's no more secrets in the AI world because AI has murdered all secrets. So the answer is yes. The 224th Medical Company is reportedly associated with only OFNEC. They're co-located, number 1. Their emergency response may provide support during emergencies to OFNEC, and they train jointly with OFNEC. This 224th company and OFNEC train jointly. So it's like quite obvious that they're attached to OFNEC. So then it's like, please provide me more information about OFNEC. It's like, yeah, they have continuity of government, security communications. But here's the really interesting thing. They allow for activation of emergency action notifications literally from this facility. They can send EANs. They're now called emergency actions messages, EAMs, from this facility, which means, you know that little bleep, bleep, bleep noise that comes on your TV? That emergency broadcasting system, that's what EANs are. So they can literally, from this facility, send an EAN or an EAM. They can send that literally from this facility. Like, this is a zombie apocalypse. This is where the Greys are taking over, whatever it is. They are literally empowered to send that from this facility. Just saying. So I wanted to know more about OPNIC personnel because why? Because let's go back. Why do I want to know more about OPNIC personnel? Because here's the phrase: living entities must be contained in total isolation pending arrival from OCNEC personnel. So what is OCNEC personnel? So I finally, at the end of the day, came to this and said, what's OCNEC personnel? OCNEC personnel refers to individuals working at the only presidential emergency ops network and alert center. O stands for only, P stands for President Network Alert Center. That's like literally what it stands for. OPNEC stands for that. And that was in a 1953 or 54 document. And they're still up the road from us. Yeah. So I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it because this is too crazy. So I had to actually drive up there today. And this is like literally 6 hours old. It's 6 hours old. I drove up there.
What? Literally? What?
Right?
And Gary, was that everything or?
No, this is the front gate
Oh,
of
okay.
Only Federal Support Center. You see it?
Yeah. Sorry, I was getting some background noise, but I got it fixed for you.
Yeah. And so if you zoom in, and I can send you this, I could send you this, Tim, but it says Only Support Center. This little blue sign literally says Only Support Center. That's what it says. I drove up there. This was 1 o'clock today. I drove up there because I couldn't believe this could be real. So I drove up there with Nancy, and she was like, yeah, it's real. And then we went to 224th Medical Company, half a mile away, and we saw, yeah, those two vehicles, by the way, the rest are missing. Where are they? Those two vehicles are those airtight ambulances in beige. And here we have some mobile labs and some other very unfriendly vehicles. So it's like, that's kind of a real thing. So this is the medical company supporting only, okay? And that's all I have, but it was a really interesting investigation to like discover what's going on, like literally in my backyard.
Awesome. Okay, so Gary, let me stop your screen share. Thank you.
Sure. Please stop. Thank you.
And let me see. Okay, so I'm going to remove Spotlight and oops. Oh, I stopped your video. Why
But I hope that was a fun 10 minutes.
There we go. Stop participants sharing. Okay, awesome. Yeah, Gary,
That was
thank you.
great, Garv. That was great. Thank you so much for sharing that. I've always wanted to know if that event was real. It's sort of like the moon landing event for me.
To AI destroy secrecy. That's what we need to know.
Absolutely does.
Great presentation, Garv.
Take
Thank
advantage
you.
of this window while it's
Bravo.
still open. I imagine they're going to be closing those holes pretty soon.
Probably.
Okay, well, yeah, Gary,
because
Gary,
I've already seen that 224th isn't showing up on Google Maps anymore.
Hey, Garv,
Yeah.
what's your Chat GPT of choice?
I really like Meta AI.
Meta
for
AI. I haven't
because
I
Meta
haven't-
AI can scrape every single Facebook,
right.
and it crushes it. Absolutely crushes all the other AIs.
I see.
So Perplexity is my number 2 choice for like
Perplexity.
analytical stuff, because it kind of like knows how to analyze stuff if you send it. And then Notebook LM by Google,
Uh-huh.
that's for like deep dives. The problem with Notebook LM is I've sent it some stuff and it's redacting stuff already. So the
Right.
government got a hold of it somehow. So it's already said, this is redacted. I've sent it stuff and it says redacted. So it's like, why is it redacted? Like, this isn't a tool of the government. Why are you redacting my shit? And so it's like, I think like Notebook LM is like compromised a little bit. It feels that way to me.
Yeah.
Have you heard, first of all, are Meta AI and Perplexity, are those open source?
Perplexity is. Open AI, I'm not sure about.
Okay.
But X.AI is open source, apparently, if you believe Elon.
Well, I have a suggestion. If anybody's heard of anything LLM, it's currently what I've been a big fan of. And I also have one on my phone that I pay for subscription, but the anything LLM was passed on to me by our cybersecurity expert, Tom Hastings. Tim Ventura, you're aware of him. I asked him, I was like, dude, I need some open source software. I'm tired of paying subscriptions. And he said, ExpressVPN, anything LLM, and I'm solid. So and Firefox, and
large language model. You remember by LLM, you mean large language model.
Well, anything LLM has a lot of different chat GPT. I'm pretty sure all of the ones that's available right now in
They're
their
all LLM. Yeah, they're all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything LLM.
Notebook LM is not. You can't quite trust it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I was wondering about the validity and like your confidence in the responses that you were getting from Meta AI. I haven't looked at the back door yet, so
I do love Meta AI, at least right now. I'm super confident. It really is a straight shooter. It's never steered me wrong. And I literally went up there today and I took some pictures. Tim, can I show the pictures I took up there?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Well, anything LLM can be configured to run many different types of chatbots. So I was just bringing it up. So I shared it to the group.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I didn't actually believe this was like real. Share screen.
And Robert has his hand up too. And Robert, did you have a question or did you want to share? Oops, sorry.
Just wanted to share for later.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. After we wrap up with Gary.
Our congressman might be very interested in all the connections you've made regarding all the
exactly. And I've already sent this to Jamie Raskin because there's really an ongoing right now. There's an ongoing study on UAPs and what they're hiding, and so it's like we really need to know what's happening at Olney Federal Support Center. So this was the front door. Like literally 6 hours ago. I'm serious. I was there 6 hours ago and took this picture. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the only Federal Support Center. And it looks like nothing is going on, which means there's like no aliens in the cage or whatever. And you look at the various videos of their parking lot, and lately there's been nobody in the parking lot. And before there was like 20 people in the parking lot. So it makes you think, yeah, they don't have any inmates right now. So right now, I parked out front, and you'll see two things if you look carefully. See these green bars, and I can send this to you, Tim, after. These green bars mean there's current coming up here, and see that black thing up there? So that means this is an electrified fence. They're going to zap you and kill you if you try to climb over this fence. This is an electrified fence. So this is a very rare thing to see, is an electrified fence on the outside. By the way, number two, they have two guard shacks. The inner guard shack, the brown one, is another fence line where they have a chance to kill you between fence line number one and fence line number two. That means it's a very critical facility. Two fence lines almost never happen in America. So that's a very, very interesting feature. And there's a lot of electricity coming in here.
Yeah,
And these
that
green
looks like
bars.
three-phase high voltage.
Yeah, this is high voltage. So this high voltage is being applied to these wires, these barbed wires on the top. So they don't want to discourage you. They want to kill you, right? When you climb over this. Number two is, you remember my Facebook page of the medical group that was supporting these people that clearly said on their Facebook page that they were supporting the OPNEC support, the OPNEC mission. These little vans that are airtight, these basically they're really, ambulances. So these ambulances in the back that are airtight, that's in their parking lot, and a lot of them are missing all the time. So you very rarely see 9 of them. You might see 3 of them or 6 of them. You almost never see 9 of them, which means they're busy a lot with these airtight ambulances, what are they doing and where are they going? Number two, if you look over to the right, these are portable labs. And in the center, you really can't see it because of all the blackberries or whatever these are. But those are vehicles that are containment trailers that seem to be on purpose of the mission containing biohazards. Not sure about that. That's my take right now. So just saying that's where I am right now.
Yeah, Gary, that's
anyway,
a lot.
You can switch my screen off.
Okay, well, thank you. Sure. Let me see. I'm going to go in and stop sharing. Okay, perfect. So let me see. And Jay, did you have a question for Gary or? Oh, and then he just wait. Oh, okay. His hand went down.
So what would happen if we all sent FOIA requests about this?
I've seen FOIA requests for this, and they're shut down immediately.
Of course. Okay.
They're shut down.
I heard recently you have to have a lawyer for that.
There's
kind
been
of
any
thing.
number of FOIA requests, and I actually have Googled this, and the FOIA requests are always nailed down. There's never any response to a FOIA request for this particular location.
Yeah.
Okay, so for so I mean, I guess whenever it involves matters of national security, they can't allow documents to get out in that.
Right.
I mean, like we can only infer, right? Because people be like,
Right.
you're on the right track or you're not, right? And
That's right.
It's weird.
Yeah, that's again, I'm kind of a level above this in terms of this whole thing troubles me. It troubles me that our own government, which is supposed to be for the people, by the people, seems fundamentally incapable of being honest. I mean, that's kind of another topic for another time.
I will say this, Tim, in their defense, when this first happened to them in 47 or wherever it was, they didn't know how to deal with it. They set up all this secret shit. And this is like from 1954. So, the document I showed you, like in black and white, was 54. So they actually were freaking out, I'm sure, not knowing what to do. So they held up this facility, and they said, if they're dead, send them to Fort Detrick. If they're alive, send them to this bunker, in Olney. But they really didn't know how to deal with it because it was all new to them.
Yeah,
so
but they've had a couple
in their
years to figure
defense,
it out.
I don't really blame them for their reaction.
It's not the reaction. And this goes beyond. For me, this goes beyond. I again, this is just kind of my bent, but it goes to a larger pattern of lies, deception, shutdowns, potential misappropriation of funds.
I know. And Nancy and I, actually, this is like a mile from our favorite beer garden. It's called Brookville Beer Farm. And we noticed when we were driving up there, all these fancy houses up there. Like, why are all these fancy, expensive houses up in Olney? What the hell's going on up here? And we realized, it's probably a government facility because we live in DC. DC has all these government facilities. If you're like close to NSA or you're close to CIA, or you're close to whatever, you're going to live there because it's convenient. So we never knew why all these fancy houses were close to Olney until now.
Okay, well, there you go.
Nancy's in the background.
Yeah.
So anyway, we finally figured it out today. Number one. Number two, the weirdest part of this whole story I haven't told yet. Can I tell them?
Up to you.
The weirdest part of the story is I was going to go there for the whole week. I was planning on this for a whole week, and I wasn't sure I wanted to do it, but I still did it. And when we got there, we had been estranged from our son for a whole year. And somehow,
At the beer garden.
after we went and did this and took the pictures, somehow we went to the Brookville Beer Garden, and somehow our son showed up there and said, I want to, what did he say?
We're gonna get together.
I want to reunite.
He said, I love you.
I want to reunite. I love you. So it was like, what is happening right now?
Hmm.
It was like we got reunited with our son. And so it was like, this is a really strange reward for something we didn't really expect to be rewarded for. And he showed up. And then we asked him, how did you know we'd be here? And what did he say?
He said something about an invitation.
He said we got an invitation. We got no invitation. We got literally no invitation. He had sent us nothing on. He was going to be there with all his relatives. And so we go there after going to this facility and taking pictures. We go there, he's there, and it's like, how is this happening? And then he hugs us and loves us and wants to make up after a year and 3 months. And it's like, this is really strange. So I just got to say, there's sort of a psychic element to this.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is.
Well, Gary, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So why don't I go on to, again, I genuinely can't thank you enough. Let me go on to Robert Francis Jr., who he had some stuff he wanted to present as well. And that way, because we're at the top of the hour, so I'll bring him up.
Okay, cool. Let me just load up the PowerPoint.
Okay, I'm going to spotlight you for everybody.
All right, updates on my magnet freefall experiments. Recording their acceleration rates as they travel in the direction of North Pole to South Pole, which is the configuration I found that had significantly different outputs than other configurations. Now the first
No, Robert, sorry, it's not sharing. Your screen isn't sharing. Were you? So you do the green share button, and it should bring up that pane, the little white window pane. And on mine, it says screens, documents, or advanced.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I've only ever done screens, but then there we go. Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
Cool. So as I was saying, I've been doing magnetic freefall experiments and recording their acceleration rates. A previous experiment run that I did about a month ago discovered that when magnets fell going in the direction of the North Pole to South Pole, that it experienced higher acceleration rates than any other configuration. So here's like the line graph you can see from back then. And you can see like the north-south and the north-south with the Arduino flipped upside down. Those accelerated at higher rates than any of the other ones. I did south, north, south, north. I did north, south, south, north. It was basically two magnets repulsively coupled together with a bolt and nut and stuff. So now I did a 6-meter magnet free fall experiment, but it didn't light my fire. It was slightly higher at the very end of the drops, but it was not, you would have expected it to have a higher acceleration rate and not have such a slow come on, like, because I have another slideshow after that to show the different magnets that I tried and tested. But all right, so why so little additional acceleration from 4 additional meters of free fall? Possibilities: the acceleration of the magnet object is plateauing. That's a possibility, and due to the size and strength of its magnet, that's why it was slowing down. The other was the wind, because my Mark 1 version, I did that inside with no wind at all interfering. But my observations and hypotheses from visual observation of the magnet objects during free fall, the object is unstable and it rotates at around the 2-meter mark, and from then on falls sideways rather than in the direction of north to south pole. the free fall environment is not as controlled as in my house, and wind is also an issue and needs to be better controlled. So like this is the Mark One. This is the original experiment I did in my house. It's actually the one I used was two of them, but they were attractively coupled. So see the dimensions 2-inch diameter, 1-inch thick. The image to the left is 2-inch thick because I had two of them attractively coupled. And that one performed the best out of all of them in that Mark One experiment. And then Mark Two is the same, except I dropped it instead of about 2 meters, I dropped it about 6.5 meters. Mark Three, I dropped just a single magnet, also 6.5 meters. And you can see, I don't know if you look at the top of the magnet, it's the field of strength is not as strong as these larger magnets. The larger magnet is more orange above the top of the magnet versus this one. And then I also bought a 3-inch diameter, 1-inch thick magnet, and I tried running tests on that. And as you can see, it's like apparently only on the outer edges of the magnet that the field strength is really strong, and then inside the middle, it's not as strong. So this is the graph of the 4 different magnets. The blue one that you see that like accelerates at the fastest rate, that's the first Mark One. That's Mark One experiment. That's the one where I dropped inside my house. And the others, those were all that I dropped outside my house. Mark Two is the same magnet configuration, but outside. Mark Three was one magnet instead of the 2 attractively coupled. The Mark Four was the one that was 3-inch diameter. Although I did run into some issues with the accelerator that make me wonder if the Mark III and Mark IV results are actually accurate. Problems encountered. It appears that the Arduino Nano 33 BLE Rev 2's IMU is delivering bad results. This is most apparent in the Mark II experiment with the differences between north-south, north-south, and north-south, north-south with Arduino upside down, as well as south-north, south-north, and south-north, south-north Arduino upside down. If you go real back to that, you can see that the orange and the blue are not Arduino upside down, and they start between 9.5 and 9.75 meters per second squared, while when the Arduino is upside down they start between or a little over 10 meters per second squared. So even though I've read that magnets shouldn't affect accelerometers and gyroscopes, I would say that that's not the case, at least with this device. All right, so also, looking at the acceleration rate results in Mark II and Mark III, it also appears that minus signs are being added randomly to some of the results. So instead of a smooth acceleration curves, the acceleration jumps between substantially less and substantially more than 9.8 meters per second squared, which doesn't make any sense. I didn't want to alter the data to fit what I believed it should be, but the jumps just don't make sense. So the IMU is only returning results. Also, yes, the IMU is only apparently returning results every 20 milliseconds rather than the 10 milliseconds it's reported to be capable of. I don't know if this is a result of waiting for the accelerometer and gyroscope to report being ready, but it's like the Mark anyone where I did the 6-meter drop experiment, it was reportedly basically hitting the ground around 560 milliseconds, and that shouldn't actually be the case until around 1,140 milliseconds. So something's not right there with that. Other experimental problems, like I said, the Mark II experiments were plagued with the free fall object rotating shortly after release and falling most of the way to the ground sideways, which is, if my hypothesis is inertial reduction happens from moving in a direction of north to south, then moving sideways is not going to help. Mark III experiments were using one magnet instead of the two because and it did seem to decrease it definitely decreased its inertial mass reduction, though it did tend to fall without rotating sideways. And ChatGPT said this was because an object with a larger diameter than thickness is more likely to fall vertically than start rotating. And experiment 4 kind of experienced that as well. That one was the one with Mark IV, I should say. Experienced that as well because that magnet was 3-inch diameter and 1-inch thick, and but I think they suffered greater wind resistance, so I think that could have played into an account on its falling. So yeah, I have things to fix. Hypothesize solutions to try to improve the recording data of the Arduino Nano. I'm going to start conducting tests with the IMU, the Inertial Management Unit, near and far away from the magnet and see if that causes the magnet to flip signs and stuff and cause, irregular data. And if that's the case, I could try and add shielding inside the free fall object shell. When I bought the magnets from K&J Magnetics, they in one of the shipments they had a flat sheet of metal on the top and on the bottom, I guess, to help try to contain the magnetic fields because it has to be shipped ground. Really high strength magnets have to be shipped ground. Apparently, they're not allowed to be shipped through the air. Yeah, so and then also if the magnet is not affecting the IMU, then I'll probably have to buy another Arduino and another power boost board that provides the power boost. Basically just converts the 3.7 volts of a LiPo battery into the 5 odd volts that the Arduino needs. Although soldering can be a pain in the butt. Aerodynamic improvements to ensure free fall from north to south pole. I consulted ChatGPT and they recommended for an aerodynamic shell one that was 2.5 to 3 times as long as the object's diameter. And mine were more around 1.5. So that could definitely be causing issues. And then ChatGPT said to remove the external M4 nylon screw attachment points because that was affecting aerodynamics as well. So I was going to make them internal on the front half of the shell, and on the back half of the shell, I was going to use little gullies to attach screws in, and I was going to tap the screw hole into the shell using a tap and die that I have. And then also ChatGPT said to add more sleek fins to the shell. I guess mine weren't really designed very well. They recommended ones such as a clipped, tapered, and swept fin design. They're running near the end of the device. Oh, and vertical guide wires. If I'm unable to create a free fall object that falls vertically without rotation, I will build a simple as you can make simple, I guess, a vertical wooden frame to run 2 guide wires from top to bottom. The guide wires will prevent the free fall objects from being able to rotate and fall sideways. Although, of course, the more the free fall object tries to rotate, the more friction that will be created between the guide wires and the free fall object shell. So that's why I want to try to design the free fall object so it will rotate as little as possible. I do intend to use PTFE coated fishing line for the guide wires and a small PTFE tubing sections to slide along the fishing line, since their friction will be very, very much reduced versus other materials. I have also have a couple different ideas for the frame to make it easy and light and as cheap as possible. A couple different ideas running through my head. And then also a wind blocking device. The days that I were trying to do magnet drops outside the window of my dad's house, down to, that was from the second floor down past the first to the basement walkout, about 6 or 7 meter drop. There was definite wind that was happening, and I don't know how much that was causing an effect. So I was thinking of a thin wire or a rod and wrapping flooring paper around the vertical chamber to eliminate horizontal wind from the affecting the experiment. And then lastly, further research is definitely necessary. Until I have the IMU working properly and solve the movement of the free fall objects so they're always moving north or south pole, it will remain unknown if the magnet objects plateau in their acceleration or if they continue to increase for as long as they travel, that's one of the main things I'm trying to find out about this. You can check out my other work on robertfrancisjr.com. And and if any of you can publish on ARCSIV in the general physics category, shoot me up with an email, because I would like to do that. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tim Ventura. Thank you very much, Mark Sokol, for this forum to try to add to diffuse knowledge.
Yeah, Robert, thank you. Thank you for working on this. That is amazing. Okay, so I'll stop sharing there. And does anybody have questions? You guys have, and again, that's Alt-Y on Windows or Option-Y on Mac. If you have questions for Robert about magnet drop experiments or anything along those lines. And I think those are really valuable, right? I mean, Bill Alec had talked about Boyd Bushman doing magnet drop experiments for many, many years. And so now
I wonder about Boyd Bushman. I wonder if he lied, but not to mess with the community, but his object was one fell definitely faster than the other, but he didn't use any kind of timing. So the outside person doesn't know the objects he used. Perhaps he used an object that fell north to south and then just a control object, and that was why he discovered it. That's why he was able to prove that magnetics can affect free fall experiments, because as a Lockheed Martin senior scientist, he is probably privy to classified information, and it wouldn't surprise me he was privy to inertia reduction technology, but he couldn't just come out and tell you how inertia reduction worked. To him it was like, well, all right, let's give hints to people and see if they run their own magnet drop experiments and discover what's really going on. That's a thought I had.
I had a question.
Sure.
You said when you measured it from north to south and you measured it from south to north, you had to add 2 magnets and a bolt to the magnet that was going from south to north. Why the additional, was it to flip the pole for the direction of measurement?
Yeah, I was testing different poles. Yeah, I wanted to, only the repulsively coupled magnets truly needed a bolt and nut and washers. I just figured I would test the components, test the magnets, the north-south, and the south-north with the same materials, just to equalize it out. Because I didn't talk about it in this presentation, but in the previous one, I mainly used that for gravitational mass experiment, just to show that they all weighed virtually identical weights on the analytical balance.
Yeah, where would that be, on the north side or the south side? Because the balance also changes. That's why you're having to add, more magnetic material for you to get the same measurement wherever you measured it first and then measured it second. That's how you knew that you needed, whatever the equalizer would be, that, that amount of material. And, right? I mean, it just makes sense. Like if you had measured it when you're in the northern hemisphere and you got a certain, data on that, when you went to the south of the equator and measured it, that, also the weight changes because of, the gravity well, because it's on the southern hemisphere. But I had an idea, a good way to measure it. In geography, like the rivers run from north to south, and we can measure the, the water, how fast it is. Well, there are also rivers that run from south to north, and that would be another way to, measure it to see. So it's not just magnetic, but, in fluidity, a polar.
The magnetism of the Earth is, I mean, the Earth's huge, so the field's huge, but at the same time, the field is really small. Like its influence on ordinary magnets is very small. I asked ChatGPT if, if it would, I don't want to say. It's been a while since I asked that, but yeah, like, for example, it said that in order for an ordinary magnet to accelerate at like 11 odd meters per second squared, that the answer it gave me is, oh, you must have some sort of magnet that it is approaching to in order to generate that kind of speed. It was implying that's the only way that would work. Of course, ChatGPT doesn't know that that magnets could potentially act as an inertial reduction mechanism.
Thank you.
Christina?
A question.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, William, go for it, sir.
So my question was, I think we've.
Oh, sorry about that. William, I muted you on accident. Sorry, I was trying to lower your hand. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was saying we've spoken about this experiment previously, and the prior experiments were run off, I think, a rooftop, and they were A/B tested, two magnets dropping at the same time to guarantee like the same results as opposed to using like in situ measurements like you're doing. I wondered if you recorded these drops with two experiments at the same time, and if you maybe put like fins or anything so that you could force the direction as they fell.
I didn't drop them at the same time. I dropped them individually. For Mark 1, I didn't use fins. For Mark 2, 3, and 4, I did use fins. But the fins I created weren't very good and didn't help.
Okay, and then I wanted to follow up because I think Boyd Bushman, his intuition was that two, I think it was north poles facing each other or two south poles facing each other was the desired best outcome. Did you encounter like a difference when you put two opposing magnets together?
See, I didn't really detect too much of a difference than what would be seen with even just a control object. Like the rates weren't all that different. Like the first line graph I had, they are all around between 10 and 9.75 meters per second squared. And yeah, they never ventured out beyond that. The only ones that did was the north-south, north-south, the north-south, north-south with the Arduino upside down, and then the south-north, south-north with the Arduino upside down, which is why I think flipping the Arduino affects things, which it shouldn't, which means the magnet is probably affecting things somewhat. But like the first graph, I mean, it's just even if the magnet is affecting the actions of the circuit boards, I don't know. It just seems too weird that you'd have them accelerate up to around 11, whereas most of the rest stays flat, even if they're initially started at a higher level. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I think my input is just that someone's already done this work. I think they were in Sedona when they did the drop testing. It'd be interesting to include that individual in the conversation. Tim, do you if you're still with us, do you recall who that was? I think he used to live in Arizona, and he performed the Boyd-Bushman experiments in Sedona.
Well, so Bill Alec, right? Was
Yeah,
talking
that's
to Boyd.
Bill
Yeah.
Alec. Yeah,
Okay.
so I've spoken to him a couple times, and he's very confident that he got different results, dropping magnets that repel one another.
Oh, they really fell slower.
Um, I think I want to say they fell faster. I don't know, but yes, he had a different result.
Supposedly, it's the ones that are repulsively coupled, they fall slower, and attractively coupled, they fell faster. Like I said, I didn't really notice any really standout results except for the magnet object moving from North Pole to South Pole, the direction of North Pole to South Pole. That's the one that stood out of the tests I've done versus all the rest.
But I think the qualitative result is maybe more important than collecting data on this experiment. Just a 5-second video of dropping a north-south magnet coupled to north-south, and then a south-north, north-south coupled magnet. I think that'd be enough to prove it pretty conclusively.
Yeah, it is a problem in the camera. I mean, like, I wish the accelerometer data could somehow be like, that you could verify that the data has not been tampered with, like you can with a camera and a video. But yeah, I don't know if I have the money right now for a good camera, a high speed camera to record all that stuff. But I thank you.
Fair enough. That's all the questions I had. Good luck.
Thanks.
Robert, can I ask you a question? I missed one thing in your presentation. How do you account for the fact that when you have a magnet and it's within Earth's magnetic field, the Earth's magnetic field will try to align the magnetic field of the magnet with its own magnetic field. So that's the force, these are forces that are acting on the magnets, okay? And you need to account for them. And I don't see in your experiments how you can do that.
No, I didn't account for that at all. I just tested them, dropped them, and recorded the results. It just, like I
These
said,
forces
before,
are huge in compared to what you were trying to achieve. They're very huge forces. I mean, they're just moving, compass magnets and stuff like that. So that they're not insignificant. So you have to take them into account, in my opinion.
well, the magnets, the rare earth ones I'm using are over 1 Tesla. I mean, like, what's the Earth's magnetic field on the surface of the Earth? It's not even close to that.
But it is affecting the magnet. The stronger it is, the more effective it is, and then affecting your measurements. You have to take, I mean, in my opinion, I guess, you have to take those things into account. Because you'd have different results depending where you are on Earth, closer to the North Pole, closer to the South Pole. Magnet pole configurations would give you different, because these forces would act differently in those scenarios.
I'll have to do some research into that. Thank you.
Okay, and then Steve has his hand up. Steve, did you want to do a presentation on a new idea, right?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Robert a question. I wanted to just mention just drive magnets. If you think through the way the actuator arm has to move, they are actually tube magnets. That one's reversed, so they're not a monopole, but the net result was they would act like a monopole because you'd have the same polarities off each edge.
Yeah, I can
It'd be
see repulsively connected magnets kind of being like a kind of a pseudo monopole.
Yeah, it would emulate a monopole. It's not a monopole. It would emulate a monopole. It would be interesting to experiment with that kind of configuration.
Okay, and one last thing that wasn't in my presentation. Anyone who's heard of the alien reproduction vehicle, they know that it has a solenoid coil around the circumference, and a solenoid coil has a north and south pole. So it makes sense to me that that solenoid coil, they're using that for inertial reduction, and and the craft was moving in the direction of north to south pole. One last thing.
Sure. But how do you control for any confounding variables, like as in gaps in like research? For example, like did you rely on GPTs for any variables that you didn't account for, and would that result in any misinterpretations of the result based on your hypothesis?
I tried to use Chat GPT to get you apply a Kalman filter to it, and it was started to work, and then it stopped working, and wouldn't even let me download the files I had uploaded anymore. It was a debacle. No, I just used the I think it's what is it, a squared plus what's the formula? What's the formula? It was I think it was like a squared plus b squared plus c squared or something like that.
Pythagorean theorem.
Just a vector g-force equation.
Pythagorean theorem.
And okay, yeah. And then I just converted that g-forces to meters per second squared.
Okay. And then Norman, you had your hand raised. Did you have a question for him?
Yes, thank you very much, Tim. So are you trying to, okay, you're working with inertia reduction. Are you, with the free fall experiment, kind of have two questions. One, are you trying to work with or to come up with the equations of anti-gravity, or are you trying to see if 9.8 meters per second squared is accurate and consistent? And number two is, what is the shape of the magnets that are actually three questions? The shape of the magnets, and why are you trying to keep them from turning?
I didn't do. I'm not attempting to generate any equations or anything like that. The magnets, they were the ones from Mark II and Mark 1, Mark II, and Mark III. They were 2-inch diameter, 1-inch thick. So it was like a circular disc, and they had a hole through the center. And I used that on Mark 1, Mark II, and then Mark III. Instead of using two of them coupled, I only used one. And then the Mark IV was 3-inch diameter disc and 1-inch thick.
So
No.
with your magnets, did you get the pre-punched holes or did you drill them?
Pre-punched.
Okay. So a curiosity that I would add to this is next time if you want to try this, try drilling the first millimeter off of the hole and see what your results are like.
I don't know if I feel secure. I'd have to buy like a beryllium copper drill bit or something like that.
Yeah, I've been doing this for 8 years. I understand where you're coming from with it.
Okay.
So I applaud you on what you're doing. I was a little bit confused as to the results that you're after. If you're trying to measure the velocity, if you're trying to see if there is an increase, and if the increase is consistent for a certain distance.
I was just trying to reproduce Boyd Bushman and the team of Leo Porcelli and Victor Hilo in Brazil, who did experiments and published papers. But there just wasn't a lot of data out there, and I wanted to try all the configurations, like I said, north-south direction, or north-south, south-north, or
Mhm.
south-north, north-south, or yeah, you got it. And it can
Yeah, I
and
appreciate all that you're doing there because I've been through all of this stuff that you're talking about. Only my objective has been the reverse of what you're going after, and I was finally able to succeed with it. So thank you for all of the work that you put into it.
all right, thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, well,
Thank you.
so yeah, should we go? Let me see. So Leonardo wanted to do a presentation, and then Steve Burns had something also.
Oh, all right, I'll take you outside. We're gonna go take a peek first. Oh, let me find it.
Steve, did you want to talk about Aquino stuff, or do you?
Gonna unmute. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Did you want to do kind of a presentation on Aquino stuff?
I don't have a presentation. I just want to say a few words about a new project I'm working on. It is showing very good promise for nullifying gravity according to the calculations of the model. And it doesn't use a semiconductor, a superconductor. It uses a semiconductor. But basically, I've been trying for years to try to figure out, any electrical engineers out there would think I'm a stark raving mad lunatic, but I've been trying to figure out how to resonate with a half a picofarad capacitance at 30 millihertz. That's millihertz. And if you do the math, you'll find out that you need an inductor that's several terabytes. That's tera with a T. So you think, well, this isn't practical, and yet I think I figured out a way to synthesize it, and I've proven it. And basically, what I'm doing is I'm taking a op-amp inductive gyrator circuit, and I'm replacing the capacitor with a capacitance multiplier.
Steve, I think you misspoke. I think you said terabytes and you meant tera henries.
I said, yeah, I've been doing computers too long, Tim. So I meant terahenries, yes. Yeah, I'm not used to talking tera with henries. But at any rate, if you take an inductive gyrator op-amp circuit and you replace the capacitor with a capacitance multiplier circuit, and then you replace that capacitor with another capacitance multiplier circuit, so you cascaded two capacitance multipliers, and you place that into the capacitance of an inductive gyrator, you can actually synthesize terabyte Henry inductors. So I solved that problem. Second problem is, how do you slow phase velocity way, way down? And I'm doing the math on a silver foil gadolinium foil rolled into a dipole element. And the element's only a half-inch long, each element, so the antenna would be 1 inch long. This is 30 millihertz now. So you're talking about an extremely, extremely electrically short antenna. And gadolinium has it's ferromagnetic, but it has a Curie temperature of about 68 degrees Fahrenheit. So in order to up the relative permeability to the 15,000 number that I need, it has to be annealed and run at a cold temperature. And I'm thinking minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So the gadolinium has a conductivity about 2 orders of magnitude below silver. So it gives you a way of putting two metals together. You can't put an insulator between the metals because then you have a coax cable. So you have to put the two metals together, but you can't attenuate the signal because you have to have the signal to radiate. So having one of the elements, a semiconductor, prevents you from actually shorting out the antenna. So I'm actually thinking that this might actually be possible if it can be annealed to get the 15,000 relative permeability that's required in the model. So this is the first time I've ever had a direction where A, I could tune out the stray capacitance, and B, I don't have to consider having a superconductor antenna, which is beyond the scope of my ability to do. So I'm very excited about this, and I'm hoping that over the next few months I can actually get some data that I can present to you guys. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, Steve, thank you. Thank you. That's super cool, man. So, okay, I just removed the spotlight on my end at least. Because again, the view is different for everybody because we're in Zoom, right? But what I'm trying to do, at least today, is keep it on the view that shows everybody, and then I'm spotlighting people as they speak. So, anybody have questions for Steve or? Okay, well, Steve, keep us updated. Please keep us updated. This stuff goes, I mean, these are big ideas, and I know your work goes way, way back. So it is awesome.
A follow-up question.
Yeah, Norman? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, go for it.
what did you mean by your superconductor antenna? I understand superconduction. What did you mean by the superconduction antenna?
Well, if you try to radiate low frequency in an antenna, and you try to encapsulate it in another material that can receive the radiation to achieve the anti-gravity effect according to the Aquino model, then you basically short out the antenna because you have a metal shorting the antenna element. So you have to have a differential or gradient between the two metals. You can't just put an insulator between the two. So by having one metal several orders of magnitude different conductivity than the other, it would allow you to achieve that over a short, electrically short antenna. So basically you have two avenues. You have two paths. You can use a regular room temperature conductor, and you can surround it with a semiconductor, or you can use a superconductor and surround it with a regular conductor. So those are the two paths, and the superconductor, there's just a lot of baggage with that, and it's not very well developed. And so I'm kind of looking for a way to do it without a superconductor, and I think gadolinium gives me a fighting chance to do it.
Have you seen the experiments that they've been doing with superconducting?
Well, I'm working at 30 millihertz, and no one works at 30 millihertz. I'm the only person on the planet doing that. So I'm not going to expect to see anything published on that.
Okay. All right. Well, very good for your work. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, Henry, did you have something to add, or did you want to present something?
A question. Steve, would you be willing to publish the op-amp circuit design you're talking about? Because it sounds intriguing, what you're trying to do there. And then the second question is, are you doing this are you going to be experimenting in a Faraday cage? So in the unlikely event that there is low frequency crap out there that might interfere with your experiment, are you shielding it so that you can see if you get a good signal?
The first question, I'm 75 years old. I've only got a few years left, so I spent a lot of time with this. So I would share it. I would share the circuit. The circuit has pieces in it that are not intuitive, and it's taken me a long time to understand how to do it. The second thing is, initially I did not have a Faraday cage, and I took out the satellite system in my house because I had transients, and I just blew the system. So for that reason alone, I switched to I do my experiments inside of a completely enclosed aluminum box, and that prevents and it's grounded to earth ground. So that prevents me from having interference. But keep in mind, low frequencies are very penetrating. So, I mean, even think about how conductive seawater is, and submarines use them for communication. So, you have to really be careful with your results because like you said, you really don't know what's out there. And 30 millihertz, that region of frequency is virtually unexplored.
Thank you.
Awesome. And Henry, thank you, sir. Okay, we're rolling along. Does anybody else have questions for Steve? Okay, so I know, Leonardo, you mentioned that you had something you wanted to present, right?
That's correct. I have a 12-minute presentation for.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. That is, yeah.
Okay, let
Take it
me see
away.
how I. Okay, I need help to do the presentation. I'm gonna press the share screen.
Yeah, press share screen, and if you have it open in a window, hopefully, right? You've already got a window open for your PowerPoint.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's going to show you on mine. I'm on a Mac. It has entire screen up at the very top. I would not recommend that. Down below, right below that, it's got application windows, and one of those should show a little picture of your PowerPoint.
Okay. Oh my God.
Or your PDF or.
Okay. My presentation is in the screen of my computer.
Oh, okay.
So how do I get there? I have to.
Yeah, so again, just press that share screen button and it should show you a bunch of windows, right? On the there you go. And let me see. Yeah, so it's showing Zoom. So it's showing your browser window right now. It shows it and it's there we go.
Okay. All right. Okay, now I go to APEC.
Yeah, that'll work. And then just make sure to maximize it, and I think we're good to go.
Okay, I have it right here. 2 clicks. Okay. "12 minutes." Okay. Now, there's the. Okay, I click. No. You can see it.
There we go. Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay.
Perfect. Okay, and it is not playing sound, if that's okay.
What?
There's no sound. There's no, the sound is not playing.
You can hear?
No, I can't hear. Yeah, I can't hear the presentation. I can
Oh,
hear
my.
you. You may need to stop. If you stop sharing, there's a little checkbox, share sound. You may need to stop your screen share entirely. And I can stop that for you if you'd like.
Okay, stop.
Yeah. Okay, so hit that button again, the share screen button. And where it has you choose the window, right? Over on the right-hand side of that, it should have share sound. It should have a little checkbox for that.
Okay, share screen.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I went to. Okay,
And there should be a share sound checkbox. Make sure you check that box.
Share sound. Okay. Share sound and optimize for video clip. I click.
Yeah,
that one
yeah,
too,
go for it. Yeah.
And share.
And it should work for all of these. Should do sound for everything you share.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'm Leonardo Rivera. I'm an independent researcher. My research is based in this formula. In this drawing, we see an object, in this case the spaceship, moving in one direction, while the other object is moving in opposite direction, and at the same time, while moving backwards, is pushing the first object forward. Okay. This formula was taken from the analysis of a rocket cone thrust effect at an atomic molecular physical view. In this drawing of a rocket chemical combustion, the pumps inject a fuel and an oxidizer to the chemical reaction chamber, where a chemical reaction with the injection of fire occurs. Okay. At the atomic molecular view, the atoms of the fuel and the oxidizer interact violently between them, augmenting their energy. This high energy creates spin and collision, and hits beneath the cone, pushing it up and at the same time leaving it behind. Ay, Dios mío.
Okay, and Leonardo, it looks like it's...
No, I have some. You
Okay.
have some.
After analysis of this effect, I concluded this formula. This is an example of that formula. This is a basic movement that an object has to do to provoke a forward movement. In this example of the physical movement, we're gonna represent with this the spaceship, and we're gonna represent this the mechanical propulsion system. This is going to be only the basic movement, the physics of that movement to provoke that this object goes forward by a mechanical propulsion system that represents this object. In the real spaceship, this effect had to repeat the effect of this coming down and pushing this up has to repeat and repeat.
Okay, and you're getting the next video, right?
This and this part, there's no sound.
Are you still trying to, because it's not playing. Are you trying to
No,
share it?
No,
Oh, you know
no-
what? It is. I'm sorry about that.
there's no sound. There's no sound there.
Yeah, it's working. I had flipped over to the wrong screen. My apologies.
That's a sure.
The destiny of humankind with the universe is to expand, explore, discover, and conquer our solar system for resources and adventure. To do this, we must be realistic and with an beyond open mind. In this conceptual art, we are seeing a spaceship with the components needed to fulfill the need for navigating through space. Lead research. 1. A mechanical propulsion system using an expansion mechanism to create the thrust. 2. A source of energy to control that expansion. My research is discovering these two components using knowledge, wisdom, and intelligence. Okay, I'm gonna do a explanation of this mechanical propulsion mechanism concept. Okay, This is only a lead research, and this research things can change. Okay, and this lead research, the mechanical propulsion mechanism is in this area, and this area, and this area, and the mechanism had to repeat. This is the model, the mechanical propulsion system is turning around very fast, and it's going down and pushing the ship up. The electrical arc expansion is between the mechanical propulsion mechanism and the ships. There has to be an expansion to provoke that movement between the mechanism and the spaceship, and a self-running generator, because the electrical arc expansion needs a source of energy, and it has to be a self-running generator. Okay. The research is going to be in searching these three components: the mechanical propulsion mechanism, the electrical arc expansion, and the self-running generator.
Finish. It's finished.
Awesome. Okay. And let me see. Okay, so I'm going to do stop participants sharing then. And Leonardo, thank you. Thank you very much. And let me see. Why don't I remove the spotlight? So does anybody have questions for Leonardo?
Yes. So does this illustrate the effect of basically the inertial field around the craft, like the forces behind it, or like physically, right? Physically speaking, as an analog.
Okay. What do you mean? Okay. Okay, you're speaking a language of physics, right? That's
Yes.
That's your physics. Okay. Okay, I read a lot of books of science, and I read a lot of books. Okay. But I'm not very familiar with that language of physics that all everybody use in science. So, okay, if you ask me a question, you have to ask me out of that context of physics that you are very common to use to speak with everybody.
Okay.
Hey, Leonardo, what do you mean by electrical arc expansion?
Okay. I ask me that question too to me. Okay, that is part of the research. The research that I'm going to do. Okay, I'm gonna show this. Okay, but I can tell you something, some small clues about that. Okay, you asked me about this one, electrical arc expansion.
Yes.
Okay, an example. The combustion of a car, the combustion chamber, no, the combustion of a car automobile. You use gasoline, injects gasoline, and an injection, and it's gonna make a chemical reaction. It's gonna expand the piston, it's gonna push the piston, and that's gonna create mechanical force energy.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
Okay, so the arc, I put that name myself. That name, that terminology, I put it myself. Okay, electrical arc expansion. It has to be electrical. It cannot be combustion because if you use a ship to go to space, you know you can't have a giant fuel tank because that's gonna make it the ship heavy. So you can use like you guys use a nuclear atomic generation, something like that. But in my case, in my research, it has to be a self-running generator, a generator that makes the energy source. So in my research, I guess that something has to be electrical. That's my research. I had to find out if that can be done, and that is part of the research. So the arc expansion is gonna substitute the chemical reaction of a combustion engine that expands and make the push, the force to, and then make the mechanical movement. So the arc expansion is gonna do that. Okay, why is an arc, why I say arc electrical? Because I'm like associating it with the force. Let's an example, the lightning of the storm. When there's a storm, there's lightning, and that force electrical that do the lightning, where I'm like taking that like for a clue for the research, for the investigation. So we have seen that when a lightning strikes down a tree, for example, it's gonna blow up the tree, or it's gonna blow up. Sometimes when it hits a building, a concrete building, sometimes it breaks the building. So to do the spaceship, you have to have like a recycling mechanism. You have to use the effect of expansion again and again and again. And I supposedly think that the only way to do that and what is like with electric.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Leonardo. I understand.
My main language is Spanish. I speak Spanish. I can explain you very well in Spanish, but and I know a little some English, but conversational English, I'm not so dominate the. But I think you understand it. I hope.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand it.
And
Okay.
Leonardo, thank you. I know that with English as a second language, thank you for pushing forward to make that work. I don't speak any Spanish, and so I'm stuck, right? And with any other language, I'm stuck. It's English only. So I appreciate you putting in the hard work and taking the chance and presenting in English when it's not your first language.
Thank you too. Thank you too. Great.
Let me see. And Dan, did you have a question for Leonardo, or did you have something to present? Or
remember that all of this thing is on the research. I did this presentation, but I'm gonna continue the research in my own.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I can actually feel his device that's going up. And I can actually feel it as it's spinning a little bit, right? Is it like giving out energy, like on the bottom?
It's supposed to spin.
It's supposed to spin because I can feel the gravitational field or some kind of magnetic field that spins it.
No, what makes it feel spin is the expansion, the arc expansion. Yeah. And that is another research. The mechanical propulsion system, that's another research that I have to start to do the research. That you're talking about this or mechanical propulsion mechanic.
Yeah,
That
I
is
can feel that the energy is inside that, like the three prongs, right?
Yeah, exactly. The energy is there.
The energy is like there's like a pole you have holding it as experimental. Then there's three prongs, and inside there's energy, right?
The energy has to come. The energy first hand has to come from the motor to the ship, and it has to go down.
It comes down and expands around.
Yes,
that's what I feel.
Around. That's the research.
Anyways, my name's Dan. I'll give a little presentation if you want, Tim.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm an energy master, practitioner, teacher. I specialize in teaching higher consciousness, intuitive psychic abilities, teach sensory perception, CRV remote viewing expert. I work in a lot of perception and consciousness, teach meditation, have a huge TikTok page. I can feel magnetic anomalies. I understand how much like energy is like a UFO is pushing out. So I can feel like different anomalies, and then I try to build things off of it. So I have maybe a little presentation I can present. There's a little bit of experimental things I've done where I stopped this windmill in front of a moving fan. I don't know what that, I'm not a physicist, I'm not much of an engineer, but I am like a inventor, creator. I have a huge I'm more like a woodworking artist. So I don't really dabble too much into other electronics and stuff like that. I guess I'm rusty with that. But I'm learning. But I learned that the anti-gravity is done through compression, just like me compressing energy and feeling every single one of your emotions and the stress levels that each of you have. I can determine what your stress levels are, your physical pain, and tell you without you telling me and get it right. That's what I do on TikTok Live when I put myself in other social media lives. I do a lot of interesting things towards the paranormal and this intention of ether. And I've actually have a lot of encounters with military and a lot of scientists and physicists, neuroscientists are interested in my work. A lot of people. So, anyways, thank you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, and Dan, thank you. Okay, so let me see. I removed Spotlight. I put it back on. Sorry, I was having some technical weirdness with my computer a minute ago. So does anybody else have anything to present? Did you guys have any thoughts? Anything along those lines? I mean, again, we got open discussion stuff going on, so
I have a question. Can you create anti-gravity by compression of geometrics?
Are you talking about space-time geometrics or?
Yeah, can you take geometrics and compress them like what you see in nature? Like how birds or insects fly.
Well, I mean, I believe they fly by sensing like the changes in the fields, but and if you see they fly, there are graphs where they hone in on an object, with their flight path, and they sense those changes. So you mean like that?
No, I mean if you take am I able to stop this windmill in front of the moon fan as the fan's going? I think that's inertia, right? So I think that defies the laws of physics, knowing I can stop this windmill as the fan's blowing on it. I showed the video. Anyways, I believe this defies the laws of physics. Anyways, a compression of geometrics is like our bodies. And I believe you could, as I have done levitation myself and other things. So I know that it's done through compression. So like high dimensional geometrics, almost like a three-dimensional space, but you're taking high dimensional physics or high dimensional geometrics and you're placing it into a three-dimensional space to create this compression to make things levitate. That's what I kind of have an idea of.
Like,
Yeah, and the guys will have to comment on that. That's I mean, I would say maybe the terminology you're using is maybe not precise enough for kind of a precise answer, but I mean, everybody speaks slightly different languages around here, so.
I mean, could I recommend Richard's book on anti-gravity and I'm forgetting the title right now, Tim, but he published it a bit ago, and it explains sort of the mathematical modeling and theories behind like different anti-gravity attempts. So,
well, they're like, I would say like you take a compression geometrics, and I found out the pyramid of the pyramid of Giza, and everything is like placed at the 45. Everything's like stimulated at 45. Like our bodies have, I believe the old ether understanding. Maybe you guys don't. I don't know, but I know that this universe is created by ether, high dimension, and also compression.
could you
Our
say that
bodies
again?
compress.
Last part?
I
Can
mean,
you
I
say
can
that
even,
again?
I can touch every single one of you. I can read your thoughts, and
Oh,
I can write it all down and get it all right. I can do a lot of things.
nice.
So is that under the category of MAGICK? I've seen that word around magic.
It's not magic. It's real stuff.
Well, you just
No,
call
I
it
know.
maybe
Like the
Hey,
colloquial term. The
let me
colloquial.
present a presentation.
Well, and if it's related to kind of propulsion, I do need to try and keep things in our kind of guide rails, right? We've gone
Well,
off on
I
all
can
sorts of.
create this thing that's a compression of geometrics, and I can stimulate it, and I can make it levitate. I've done it before. And I can levitate it in a way that it can just like levitate right here in front of me.
Hold on. Yes.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
I'm gonna go in the store.
Okay.
Just take me off video and I'm gonna put me on regular. I'm gonna put my headphones on.
Okay, bye.
Hello. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Don, you're not muted here. Okay, I'm going to mute that out. Yeah, Dan, I mean, if you'd like to do something like that, go for it.
Sorry, was I too loud there?
Oh, no, you just had some background noise. That's all. Oh, okay. I guess. Well, okay. So Dan muted himself.
No, I mean, I'll bring something to the table next week or so. I have to build it first.
Yeah, no, that's
Is
totally
this like
cool.
open like all the time, or I have
so
some
our
other friends
next,
that might be really interested in presenting some stuff. Know
Yeah,
that we work on a lot of different
so
kind of
the way that
interesting stuff.
the open mic used to be the open discussion part. Like a couple of years ago, we did all of the APEC conference, right, as a Zoom conference. And there's some advantages, but also some disadvantages with it.
Do you guys
And
like show like all like what you have done? I mean, like this guy.
yeah, it's
Do
a
you have?
series.
I mean, I
it's-
saw your YouTube
it's a s-
pages,
it's a series of presentations essentially, and so
and then eventually you get to a point that you're building something.
yeah, well, we have tons of folks who are building stuff, and then they present, at different points.
You're just building like the propulsion part of it.
Yeah, that's the focus. But so what was I going to say? The next open mic you were talking about is November 9th. November 9th. If you have something you want to demo, then I will be at
I
Mark's.
will. I'll have it put together and everything just for a group.
Yeah, good deal, man. Good deal.
Check out my page, my TikTok page, Galactic Mastery, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I also teach classes and practices on telekinesis, psychokinesis, aerokinesis, CRV, remote viewing, and so much more. Real stuff. I also teach meditation. A lot of you guys have stress I can feel. I'll calm down.
Yeah. Well, Dan, thank you. Thank you. And again, I want to try and keep things locked into the propulsion side of things. So yeah, let me go next and see, does anybody else have anything they want to present on?
Hello?
Yeah, sorry, who's
Hi, my name is Evan Cofield. I've been following you guys on and off, and one thing I'd like to offer, I'm a electromechanical design engineer, and I've been using Pro Engineer and other CAD systems for about 30 years. So I'd definitely like to offer my services, and anybody needs anything designed in 3D for parts, assemblies, and things like that. And number two, yeah, I don't have any fancy presentations yet. I've been looking at some of the things with Chat GPT on exploration of things that we're
I
going to
mean,
need. Oh, go ahead.
Evan,
Sorry.
the open mic is really, this is kind of an open discussion format. I'm just trying to kind
Okay.
of keep things moving forward. So
I
if you
understand.
have, yeah, you don't need to have like a PowerPoint or anything like that. It's, I mean, if you have anything you want to share, right, as long as it's appropriate and it's related, hey, go for it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's not 100% related to it, but in like system engineering, you have different components that are going to have to be developed for FTL travel, and you're going to have new type of computer systems and programs, obviously developed to deal with this new type of physics, And I kind of it's half me and half Chat GPT. I don't know how realistic it is because I used to design a lot of PC boards, but it's amazing some of the stuff it's created. Okay, I just got to share that, and I just have a few slides I could show on just it's I don't know how it can create it, but a nanosingularity being used for subspace communications, which I thought was totally fantasy. But it came up some interesting diagrams I could share, just a couple quick pages. But yeah, I think the first few, you're right. I need to listen in to know exactly where everybody is focused, and that's about it for that idea. But
Yeah.
because I think development with new graphene transistors is really going to greatly enhance the speed of the computational precision that's needed for new next generation computers. Like ASML just came out with a 2 nanometer
Did you say
chip.
graphene transistor?
Yep. Yeah, someone just had a breakthrough
Ooh.
with a graphene transistor. I was reading it on a tech speech. I'm always looking at the new stuff on futurism.com and other related sites. And what I do is look at the various component engineering that are going to be necessary because it's a hierarchical structure, going back 20 years with the development of buckyballs and nanotechnology and how you're going to need advanced circuitry to make nanosecond calculations for adjustment of thrust and angle and ideas of actually I had one idea. I know it sounds crazy, but if you can make a 3D printer print materials like an ellipsoid, why can't you project that into an energy matrix where you have a solidified energy projected from a 3D CAD model? I know it's a bit crazy, but I know gravity or magnetism is probably the best choice right now for deflecting particles when you're going at ultra high speeds in space. Like I just worked on a project dealing with laser transceivers about 200 gigahertz that are going to be aimed at the moon and Mars. Okay, I can tell you that much. Using some extremely high, using laser diodes. I worked with some PhDs in optical engineering and over at Fibertech, and it was some interesting work because you're going to need those type of tools for, literally instantaneous communication between the Earth, the moon, and Mars.
You can do a lot of cool things with graphene. The issue with it right now is more it's not so much what we can do with it because we're finding that really it's more the limit of our imagination is what we want to do with it. It's more the how expensive it is to produce.
Well, that's
seems
it.
to be
The
the more
cost
driving.
effectiveness. You're absolutely right. Is that, it's like my sign as a design engineer working on projects is getting it, have, as you said, having a concept, having an electrical engineer developing or optical engineer developing these things. And what I do is I'll take and I'll create stuff in 3D. I'm not a hobbyist. I do it for work, working on these kind of projects or doing some stuff at a BAE now, but it's from, it's money, but it's not cutting edge technology. Like I heard, what's his name? Elon Musk wanted to have, he's working on ideas for Starjet to go Mach 5 or Mach 10. And I don't know if he wants to use his I don't know, I think scramjets are definitely useful to go from atmosphere
Oh,
into
hicimos
space.
historia. We made history.
Yeah, I mean, with their I mean, like 2D materials, you know, are getting cheaper to manufacture. Like, for example, I think, I think there's a distribution mechanism where you can plasma vapor deposition, but you know
Yeah,
that's
right.
also expensive, but also aqueous graphene.
Yes, yeah. No, that's interesting. You made that because if we could take some of the technology used for developing new next generation semiconductor wafers, I think those similar, you said chemical vapor deposition or high energy plasma that we're using for making chips could be used for propulsion systems.
So there's a company down on the Space Coast called IO Aircraft. It's ran by a guy named Andrew Blair. He claims to be, I haven't seen anything in person, I've just seen the claims. But he's looking at some really interesting CVD 3D printers for graphene.
Yeah, they're taking
that
they're taking that same resolution and applying it to the 3D area. You're right. I know it's amazing.
Yeah, and then his whole thing is hypersonics. He calls it a UBTCC, is a unified turbine-based combined cycle engine. It's kind of like what Lockheed's SR-72 is doing,
Right.
where only they're stacking on top of each other. His it's a conical design where you have a bearing on the inside, so your scramjet's actually on the inside, and the turbofan is encapsulated. It has an inner bearing and an outer bearing with the fans on the inside of it like that. And
Right.
it's interesting, but what he uses graphene for allegedly is he wants to use it for 3D printing the superstructure, essentially the superstructure of the aircraft. So if that's 70% graphene now instead of 70% aircraft aluminum, that drives down the weight a lot, and that makes everything that much more efficient.
I've been looking at that. And
The
like
other
even
major thing that he was doing is he's talking about is plasma actuation using a lot of these graphene-based substrates, so you can get like uh, like manipulation of your hypersonic plasma sheath without having to use mechanical control surfaces.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing, and they're thinking of if you could put a certain amount of electricity through this graphene surface that's on an aircraft, you're not exactly developing shield technology, but close to it,
Yes.
because you created a ablative surface and you have this, it's called the skin effect. When I was working at ASML, I was working with this PhD in materials engineering, and we were doing I call it a shower head routine, where you'd have the plasma coming through a shower head into the vapor deposition chamber. And I worked with these guys that were brilliant using a chromium aluminum alloy, and we were trying different samples to see what would give us the best skin effect, because they were using radio waves to create this plasma that you could control when you're adding and removing materials as you do the vapor deposition, then add another layer. I call it the 1, 2, 3 Jello, where you keep adding layers and stuff. Then you said, now that we're doing 3D transistors and now graphene may be used for 3D transistors, that will really extremely accelerate to create a new generation of electronics that we're going to need for all this ultra high speed electronics used to control and make instantaneous changes in velocity, thrust, electronics. It's like, as I said,
Yeah, once you start like crunching the numbers on just like e- let's set warp drives aside for a second, even though I can talk about how, plasma MHDs can kind of lead into warp drives, but let's just set the warp drive aside for a second. If you just crunch the numbers in like a classical aerospace sense on what going to graphene and all these different places are going to do, and going to plasma actuation instead of mechanical actuation, and you start actually like crunching the numbers and what type of performance benefits you would get from these things if you were able to hypothetically throw enough money to where you could make them into reality, all of a sudden the area starts to become blurred over the performance characteristics you'd be getting out of these platforms and what we see out of UAP. I mean, like we start getting into an aircraft that look more and more like an aerodyne or a lifting body without any actual wings or control surfaces on it. It's going Mach 5 and it can turn on a dime because it's using because it's using radio waves to manipulate the plasma sheath. I mean, like, I, you can see why the government would be interested in maybe keeping a lid on some of this, and it's just there becomes so many overlaps.
Yeah, I think what was it, the X-45? I forget that jet that had the forward swept wings, that they had like 3 or 4 processors that had to maintain a stability aircraft, otherwise it would blow up because inherently it was unstable, but they abandoned it because it was just, like $1 trillion cost
Yeah,
overrun or
like,
something.
and if you work on any of these aircraft, I mean, like even older ones that civilians have access to now, you peel back the panels on these things, there is absolutely zero wasted space
Right,
whatsoever. I mean, like,
right.
you have avionics packed on avionics, everything's packed in together, and when you just kind of keep running this out through the future, eventually the flight controls and computer, it all starts to become integrated and
Yeah,
built together as this one weird
right.
3D printed thing.
Well, I think that when everybody's seeing some of the YouTube videos on where they have like 20 channels of fuel being able to go through this 3D printed manifold that would be impossible for anyone to design normally. It was AI assisted. I can't remember the video, but it was absolutely blew me away. I mean, it replaced like 100 parts with 1 part. And that's one of the biggest problems was obviously next generation propulsion system. When I worked at Aerojet, we were using, I call it a cascading, what do you call it, shower head routine, where you had micro shower heads. Because I was working with the AC3, I think it is. I can't remember the one, but they've been working on it for 10 years. So I was working with doing shrink wrap on the top level assemblies in Pro E. So I got a nice chance to see how the whole thing went together. It was quite interesting. And they're trying, as you said, if once we can get more reliable, like was it titanium powder, a TIA of 6AL4V that was first used on dental implants. And then they started getting the powder thing. So these components, and then I put in a chat some things I found here. I was at Cognitive Chat GPT about graphene coated titanium. And then, as you say, to get this plasma sheath, because that's the biggest problem is that you get micrometeorites. So when dealing any kind of propulsion system, that'll help with that. And when you're running electricity through it, that'll, as you said, there's an idea right there. You said where the graphene being coated on surfaces that have arc plasma, by adjusting the amplitude modulation of the electricity going through it, that'll protect everything that the plasma is going near, like
Well,
what they're doing
so
with
Boeing's already did
ITAR.
this. Like,
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, no, Boeing's
fantastic.
already working.
Okay, I guess I'm ahead
There's
of
some
my
old
thoughts.
videos that were released back in like 2014 of them testing this concept on Humvees, actually. And so
Interesting.
essentially what the dumbed down version of this idea is, you have you have your sensors, they sense the incoming missile, and you have a giant microwave emitter that heats up the air, turns it into a plasma. The shock wave of an explosion is going to go at a different speed in the plasma versus the air around it, and then that deadens the impact, that deadens the blow from the explosion. And they called it like the world's first energy shield, even though, or a plasma shield, depending on what media headline you call it. But no, this is a very real thing that Boeing's already been doing for, let's see, this is in 2014, it's 2024 now, so for 10 years this has been at least publicly
Yeah.
acknowledged.
Yeah, that's the other issue is we don't have access to any of this technology yet because everything's declassified, I think, in a 4-year increments, 4 to 8 year increments. So something that's ultra top secret, as you said, it might take 10 or 20 years where people in the private sector can have access to all this research they did, you know. Anyway, I'll let someone else talk.
Wasn't it? There was a, forgive me, there was a guy in the last main event that was talking about hemp being used for graphene, and he was talking about the skin effect on his craft, delivering voltage straight to the skin and using that to produce plasma to direct the ship.
Yeah, well, and this is kind of like what I was getting into, is like once all these systems start integrating together, all of a sudden the skin of the ship is now the radio transmitter for communication. It's now the plasma actuator for steering. It's now the propulsion system for going forward, and it's now the computer that's doing the calculations, so it knows how to adjust the the radio waves to adjust it. So it's all this really delicate dance of all these systems that need to happen in a way where almost the whole craft is like a giant superconducting transistor in this really weird, bad analogy.
Yeah, I feel the same. Go ahead.
I know it's a compression. I mean, what I feel with UFO craft, it's just a compression. They just compress off the Earth, so they have to be.
Yeah,
They have to be
warp drive
like.
compresses space time. That's how they work. You compress
No,
space
I know
time,
how they
it's
work because I can
gravitational
feel
well, and you
them.
fall into it.
No, they
Is it
compress off the field, off the Earth. You
Yeah.
have to have a compression. They create this magnetic field, but it's like compressed off the ground, off the Earth, like the Schumann resonance. It's got to be in tune to the Schumann resonance. I know this for a fact. And they're not all of them fly in space. Some of them fly only in the Earth's magnetic field because they
Yeah.
can only stay bound towards the Schumann resonance.
Interesting.
And they have to be like in tune to the Schumann resonance somehow. I know because I worked with Dr. Stephen Greer. Like I personally worked with the guy, and we worked on different departmentalized projects like this, where I was able to. He wanted me for different projects. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Like all sorts of free energy devices and 0 point energy devices that you want me to remote view.
Well, so guys, I should mention it's 6:30 right now. We usually go 3 or 4 hours. I'm thinking probably about 3 hours tonight, so maybe around 7 p.m. Pacific, wrapping things up. Seems like we've worked through some presentations today, some ad hoc presentations. We've
Tim?
got some good discussion going. Yeah.
Hey, Tim.
Mhm.
I wanted to share my story because I think that Daniel Davis, what he was describing is actually like he was describing what I saw.
Oh, okay.
So
Go for it.
let me just share this real quick because I was hoping that Mike Cho was on the call. I don't know if he left, but what Daniel was describing is like he read my mind. So 1978, I was 10 years old, and I was walking home from buying bread, and I was going through a desolate area, and I'm looking up to the stars because I was scared. I was a kid, 10 years old, right? So in the firmament, I saw a star that looked very bright, and it wasn't a star. It came from the firmament in what I would say a fraction of a second. I really don't know the timing, but it was so fast. It comes from so far away to about 50 feet away from me. And it turned out to be a UFO. And the shape of the UFO was like the shape of a diamond with the bottom tip cut off. And from about 1/3 from the top, there was a band of glass, and some light inside of that glass was going around really fast. And suddenly, from underneath of it, a beam of light shined to the ground. And of course, I was afraid, so I started running away. And the aircraft took off. If you've seen Star Trek, when the spaceship takes off on warp drive, that leaves a streak of light behind. That's exactly how it looked. As I'm running away, I'm looking at it, and that's just the way it looked. But the surface of this aircraft was very smooth, silver in color. And so what Daniel was describing is like I think it is much like what he's thinking, that all these systems are going to be so integrated that the whole aircraft, it's all the systems, you know. And I think that because of the size of this aircraft was about the size of a semi-truck cabin. So for this system to be traveling at such speed with such maneuverability, forgive me, I'm probably mispronouncing that, but the maneuver that it's doing for such a small aircraft, I don't think that it has the kind of propulsion systems that you guys described at the beginning, where you're using a lot of, electronics or heavy equipment, if you will. Everything is integrated. Also, must have been using magnetic fields, and I would assume photons, because they're collecting. When this thing was going around in the band of glass, it was going so fast. I'm assuming it's collecting some kind of energy, whether it be from the gravity of the Earth, from the light that is emitting by the stars, however it is that they are using as a means of propulsion, it's coming from the outside. It has to be coming from the outside, because such a small aircraft couldn't possibly be traveling at such speeds if it was being propelled by something that comes from within. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of like how it's like rockets, for example. Rockets are 96% fuel by weight, and you couldn't, at least with chemical rockets, you couldn't get something to perform that fast. Couldn't carry enough fuel to burn that amount of energy.
Exactly. So it must be driving is the force that it's using to propel itself from the outside environment, i.e., maybe magnetism, countering the magnetic force of the Earth, using the magnetic force of the Earth as a means of propulsion. So it reverses the polarity, I guess. I mean, I'm an accountant by trade. So, but there, I just wanted to share that with you guys, because I know that what I saw, and by the way, I'm willing to put myself through a what I call this lie detector test.
I
For
believe you.
anyone that doesn't believe what I saw.
I've had a similar experience when I was younger, so I'm not one to say you're wrong with this.
But hey, I encourage you all to keep searching, because the answers are already there. We just haven't figured it out.
I agree.
And it was always my dream to become an electronics engineer. Life happened, and that didn't happen. But I hope that I'm still hoping that I will become an electrical engineer at some point. And maybe I'll catch one of you guys down the road. But I'm just wanted to share the fact that what you guys are trying to accomplish has already happened, and this systems, or this people, or this aliens, they have been here a whole lot longer than us, and there is so much that we still need to learn. But one of the thoughts that I have had throughout the years is that we are part of a paradoxical state of existence, undergoing the physical manifestation of the full cycle of knowledge, which is to say that everything that will ever be already was. These systems that will allow us, humanity, to travel through the galaxy or the universe, they already exist. We just got to figure it out. And we're in the right track, but based on what I've seen, there's a lot of work to be done.
There's a lot of work to be done, yes.
But I congratulate you all for doing the work that you're doing, and I hope that if my dream doesn't come true, that at least my experience will help you continue to develop things that will allow us, meaning humanity, to get there. But thank you for listening, and I wish you all the best.
Okay, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that.
Bye.
Yeah, I was just having that conversation with somebody today, like in the context of disclosure, people saying, well, wouldn't it be great if we just had drastic disclosure right away and all this tech dropping on us, and wouldn't we be able to jump a few steps ahead? And to that, I would say, well, wouldn't really do us much good if we don't have the framework to understand it. So that's what we're doing here, is trying to develop a physical mental framework to understand the physics when it comes our way. whether or not it's from disclosure or citizen disclosure or just people developing it. It's all or all the above.
I think
Disclosure from fake Elon Musk, right?
I think the way we can reword that too, Brandon, is that it's a oh shit. Oh, of course. Oh, I had it left.
Oh, the thought.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
that's where
I'm
I
still
think
seeing Alfredo.
Hey, you want to feel some energy?
Okay, I was curious before we moved on. I wanted to just, I don't have like a presentation, but I came across a couple of really interesting articles and papers in the interim, and I wanted to show them really quick. A couple of things came across my desk that are really pertinent.
Yeah,
I
go
feel.
for it.
All righty.
Interesting. Thank you.
So one of them is I don't know if people have seen this plasmoid paper. You'll see that.
Yeah, put the URL in the chat when you have a chance.
I think I dropped both of them just before I started talking.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
I like to accumulate this kind of stuff.
Yeah, no worries. My tabs are a mess after one of these. It's just I have 3 screens and they're all full of tabs open. So and then I have to file through and decide which ones I want to actually read or not. But so I don't know if people have seen this, but there's this interesting paper that came out that's in the Journal of Modern Physics. It's this exploration of UAP in the context of plasmoids, which is sort of saying that the hypothesis being they're kind of intelligent, possibly living, like it's a platform for life in the sense that plasma could be it's got all the qualities that make for potential DNA or a form of DNA and the storage and replication of information and in the computing definition of life.
In other words, an energy matrix that has intelligence.
Yeah, and I think it dovetails with some stuff I've seen from people discussing the possible reality of like life on the sun, and
Well,
that not carbon-based life, but like life as we don't know it.
So there was an earlier version of this paper that was put out last year. I think it was called like plasmoid life in the thermosphere. It was titled something like that. Forget where it was published to. Anyways, if you actually go back and listen to some of Jack's older interviews, this is one of the things that he talks about with one of the life forms that he knows about that is responsible for UAP sightings. Is one of them with these quote unquote plasmoid like life forms that sort of behave like bacteria in the upper atmosphere, which it's interesting to see this is popping up now a little bit more.
Totally. And some of these have been discovered visualized, observed over the Great Pyramids, where there's known to be a concentration of energy there, and in sprites. If you guys remember, if you might remember some of these NASA videos from the 90s, where there was this space tether and all these objects kind of around it. They were said at the time to be ice particles, but these guys kind of did an analysis on it, going through and showing how they might be these kind of sentient plasmas. And of course, people talk about when you have ball lightning, which is interesting because ball lightning is often preferred as an explanation for UAP, but it's not really. It's like kicking the can down the road because we really don't know much about ball lightning, but it does sometimes demonstrate like self-animated or intelligent movement. So ball lightning is also in here. And these guys kind of go the extra mile and sort of begin to suggest that all UAP might be these. I don't think I would go that far, but I think like Foo Fighters definitely, and a few others may be explained this way. In addition, that like it's this platform.
Oops.
It's this platform that kind of animates the physical platform that we're based on. So there might be this primary energetic sort of platform. It reminds me of Bob Greenier's work with EVOs, in the sense that like it would seem like almost like EVOs are a kind of form of invisible plasmoid, and conversely, these visible plasmoids are visible EVOs. Those are interchangeable, possibly. But yeah, that's a super interesting thing. And before I get interrupted again, there's this one that came across in the Discord, which, by the way, thanks for booting the troll. You can't.
Oh, Brennan, you're
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I keep a 4-year-old keeps coming to asking me, found out about some dark chocolates, and I'm like trying to find the nice way to say no, you can't have the crack cocaine. But like, yeah, no hard caffeine for the tiny ones.
Yeah, especially Halloween time, right? Yeah.
Not just yet. Like, yeah, that'll keep them up all night. So there's this hidden world of electrostatic ecology, and sorry, who's the guy that has the little tinfoil craft that are going on the circuit?
I thought you were talking about Fry from Futurama. Sorry, go ahead.
The guy that was presenting a little while ago, I don't think it was Dennis. It was the Israeli fellow that had the cool circuit where he had Einstein and Newton on the little aluminum foil craft.
I remember that. Yeah. Not the electrostatics on the guide rails.
Yeah. Well, they weren't those were electromagnetic guide rails. So apparently, there's a lot of that kind of thing actually happening in nature, like pollen. They've observed pollen that jump from the flower to the bee based on electrostatic charges on the bee. They've shown that there's electrostatic charges on spider webs that attract insects. That there's actually demonstrated in the lab that there is a stronger than average chance of these insects hitting the web because of a very slight electrostatic charge. There's nematodes. Let me see if I can get some of these. Yeah, this is a animation of nematodes that are arcing up to a moth based on electrostatic charge. So like parasites are using this. So we're similar to what Alfredo just said. We're reinventing the wheel, but this is biomimicry in a nutshell, where we can look to these inspirational sources to see where nature. It's much easier for nature to do these things at the tiny scale because electrostatic is very strong against much lighter material, and that's where you get things like capillary action and static electricity and surface tension have a much bigger effect than up at our just giant macro scale. But this is insanely interesting, and I recommend highly anybody that's working on these things to look into it, because there's this whole world of this. And this guy up at the start, Daniel Robert, he's got this library of. Sorry, I think somebody's unmuted.
Okay, so why are you talking about that in front of the door? Come on, dude.
Oops. Okay.
Okay.
Live TV.
Yeah, I think it's Kurt.
Yeah,
I think it's Curtis.
I didn't say it's not okay.
It's all good.
You're gonna Google what?
This guy Daniel Robert is assembling a massive repertoire of research, and it's growing. It's and earning some converts, although it's very brand new science. And this is in Quantum Magazine. So anyway, there's that, and that's it. I just wanted to share that. Both those links are in the chat.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, Henry, go for it.
Henry.
I'm curious, is there any speculation or behavior noticed on the plasmoids? I mean, are they behaving like insects, like birds, like dogs? What level of
so they do talk
so
a bit
speak?
about like this. They compare it a lot to how bacteria behaves, actually.
They'll kind of go up and investigate stuff. There's talk of like there's reports that they'll enter a plane cockpit and go all the way down the fuselage of the plane, kind of like seeming to seek out and Simple
I
behaviors, but behaviors nonetheless.
I think last year's version of the paper is actually a little bit better in terms of some of those details. Um, the two things that I remember is that they behaved like life, but not necessarily intelligent. It seemed more like a primitive behaviors that something like bacteria would exhibit, and they also seem to be interested or attracted in things that give off energy.
Wouldn't they
So
wouldn't
they're
they
looking
have
for food and
yeah.
they're bouncing around, and that could be interpreted as intelligence when it's really, in effect, it's like I'm hungry or something smells good.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of times they eat each other.
Now
It
I
And
mean, I can
you can have a
imagine that it's a
network
certain.
effect of bacteria in the ocean. We call that quorum sensing. And so there
Uh,
are people that could argue that even at the simple scales, once you scale up like a huge mat of bacteria, they do seem to have like systems that are adjacent to voting and stuff. So them, asking the whole question about intelligence might go all the way down. If you look at like guys like Michael Levin, he's demonstrated some sort of rudimentary intelligence, even in like
Not everything is
preliminary.
consciousness.
I mean, like
Let's say,
slime
but
molds. I mean,
and
slime molds are not conscious, yet they can solve mazes, right?
And
yeah,
they've
it's not
developed
self-aware.
slime molds have
I
been
think
shown to
something to
develop
consider.
systems more complicated than the Tokyo subway system.
I think what's important to consider with these so-called plasmoids, which I guess is seems to be the terminology that we're coming to a consensus on using. So the research around these plasmoids is still very new, at least in the public realm. And so it is safe to say at this point there are definitely more
They can be
questions than
harnessed, though. I
answers.
know that.
is there a sense that these things are native to the upper atmosphere, or they got blown here from the sun?
Good question.
You can create plasma. I can create orbs on my hand and do a lot of different things with them. But you can create plasma. I would say they're plazoids that you're saying, but they're orbs, right?
Is it
Like Dragon Ball Z.
Tim,
They
is
can
it
be
John
created by
Brandenburg that was
compression of light.
talking once here about how plasma? Yeah, I think it was Brandon. It was some plasma physicist who was saying that uh, even when you're working with plasmas in a lab, sometimes they can seem to have a mind of their own.
That's got to be a fusion physicist.
No, that's
I
done
know
with intention.
Jeremiah told me he was talking about this, and we were talking about whether plasma was intelligent, and he's noticed some stuff in his lab of plasma seeming to respond to human thought. I'd let him speak more than that sometime.
No, it's actually done through in the sensory perception of intention. Is intention to know mind? Intention is awareness, but you can move things and operate things within a state of awareness. So you could probably take the plasmoid, what you create in the lab, and you can move it through the intention and create to do things. I've done it before.
Well, it would make sense that you would see anomalous interactions because, after all, we're electrochemical machines, and electrochemical reactions produce electromagnetism. So there is, weak fields interacting. That's definitely not beyond the bounds of possibility.
Yeah.
Well, I teach like a class on like sensory perception or how to manipulate objects.
Well, and Dan, why don't you drop your contact info in there, and that way anybody.
I did.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So guys, we're at 6:56. Curtis, did you have an update that you wanted to provide?
Jim implied that you did.
I do not.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Well, why don't we, guys? This has been a pretty amazing session. If it's okay with you guys, why don't we cut things a little bit short this evening? We have a big presentation coming up at the end of the month, and then another open mic, and I believe that's November 9th. So
That'd be great.
Awesome. Okay.
I think I like this.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's
Again,
it's kind of things you can't really discuss with a common person. Or the ending joke for the day is, how do you expect people to understand the complexities of climate change when a lot of people in Congress think H2O is a rock band?
Okay,
It
well,
probably is a rock band. You just don't know about it.
So what I'm gonna do, guys? What I'm gonna do? I'm gonna basically stop recording here, and
Well, thank you, Tim.
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
You're a
Okay,
great
so this
moderator.
has been APEC Open Mic for Saturday, October 12th, 2024.